Hello, welcome to the Lululoves Crochet Podcast, episode 12. My name is Emma and this is my podcast all about crochet, crafts, books, TV and anything else I'm interested in really. It's been a couple of weeks since our last podcast. It's been about 4 I think. I hadn't intended it to be so long, but we've had the Easter holidays here, so we had the children home for a couple of weeks. So we've just been enjoying our time together really. And also before I start, I just want to say a big thank you to a couple of podcasters. I've had a few shout outs recently. So I'd like to say thank you to Rosina from Zines and Rogers. Thank you very much. And Deanne from Addydae Designs. Thank you girls. If you don't already subscribe to them, I'll link their channels below. I'm sure you do. They're both really lovely podcasts. So I will just get straight in. I'm also filming on a different camera today. Had a bit of an unfortunate accident with my iPhone. So I'm trying on the big camera. The only thing is I can't get my mic to work, so the sound might be a bit funny. I am going to try and get it all sorted out, so just bear with me for this episode. So I will start with my first finished object, and this is my Betty sweater that I finished. I'll stand up and see if I can show you properly. I'm not sure. It's a cropped sweater, well, cropped sleeve sweater in this chevron design. It's not too long and not too oversized. I really love it. I'm not sure if you can get a good look at the colours there. It was in the Willow and Lark yarn, the woodland yarn, I think. Anyway, I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. So I'm writing a pattern up for this one actually, and I've started making another one in, bear with me, everything's over there, in a cotton, just because I feel like this would be a really lovely summer jump, you know, just to layer over things. But I can't actually wear this one on its own. It's just a little bit too itchy for me. I think it's merino and alpaca mix, but it's quite a hairy yarn, so it's fine when I layer it, but on its own it's a little bit itchy for me. So I'm working another one up in cotton. I'm still attached as usual. I'm pulling out stitches now. I'm using Paint Box. I don't know if you can see the colours there. So I'm trying that in some summery colours. I'm also still trying to be a bit braver in my colour choices. We'll see how that goes. But yes, so hopefully, I wasn't 100% sure about the neckline. I did feel like it was a little bit square, but I put a picture on Instagram and everyone seemed to like the neckline, so I may change it up a bit with the cotton version, or I might just leave it. I'll see how I feel. And once that's done, I will write the pattern up and get that off to the testers. So that's quite exciting. The other thing I finished recently is the kit I was sent from Will and the Gang. It's their new raffia yarn. Raffia, I think, and I was sent a kit. I was sent the Gangster Shopper, I think it's called. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to show you this very well. So it's just made up of this paper yarn. Can you see that? It's quite hard to work with. I mean, not hard, it's just different. And also, if you watched Lottie and Albert's podcast, you will have seen that her tension was coming up really big. Mine was also coming up fairly big. My bag was about 10 centimetres wider than it should have been. But I just kept going with it. The pattern's actually really easily adaptable. I could have made it smaller quite simply, but I carried on and I just made it a bit longer, and then I made the handles slightly thicker than the pattern suggested, just to sort of compensate really. So I really enjoyed working with that. I've never worked with raffia before. I definitely would work with it again. The sun's just come out. And now that's any good or not. We'll just carry on. So yes, that was the Wool and the Gang Rah Rah Raffia. Even though my kit was, my tension was big, I still had, it comes with 2 of these raffia tape yarn in the kit. And I've still got quite a bit left. So I was a bit worried that because my bag was coming up a bit bigger, I might have run out, but I didn't. So the kit also comes with everything you need in all the lovely Wool and the Gang packaging. Comes with very cute little wooden hook. Can you see that? And in there's a label and a finishing needle for finishing. So that's quite good. I'm very into the straw bags at the moment. I think they're going to be really lovely for summer. So hopefully I'll be able to make a few more of those. That pattern did say it was an intermediate. I'm not really sure why, because the stitches are very simple and the pattern's very simple. So if you wanted to try it and you were only a beginner, I don't think you would have any problems with that really. And the other thing, I will show you this quickly. This was a little doily that I made a little while ago. Can you see that? Isn't that beautiful? That doily is called the Sun Moat doily, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's so intricate and beautiful. I worked to start using some, it was quite a thin cotton, I can't remember, but I'll put all the details in the show notes. They'll be on my blog. So look at that, isn't that lovely? I want to make more of these and maybe even put them up on the walls. Look, that would look nice. So that's another one. Again, I can't remember the designer because I haven't brought my notes up with me. I wrote them and then left them downstairs. I'm filming up in my new office, so I have one of the old bedrooms that I've converted for my yarn, and which is lovely, but I'm still getting organised. So maybe I'll show you around when it's all finished. So that was lovely. That's the Sun Moat doily. You can find that on Ravelry, and then I think the last finished item I've got to show you is, actually was finished a while ago. It's the item I made for the Inside Crochet 100th issue. This was a really beautiful issue. I won't go into it too much because I've seen it already on a couple of podcasts now, but it's styled so beautifully, and all the patterns are gorgeous. I mean, look at that. Can you see that? I hope that focuses for you. That's beautiful. It's lovely jumper. And then my table run, you can't really see it there. It's called the Star Posy Table Runner, and here it is. I will put some pictures on the blog. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? I mean, just perfect, I think, for parties or, oh, look at that. I was really, really pleased with the way that came out. And I am going to be using that for all the birthday parties coming up. I just think that's a really lovely, fun piece. And it was made using paint box DK cotton, so it's really reasonable. You know, you don't need to spend a lot of money to get something really beautiful like that. I love that. So the pattern for that is in Inside Crochet issue 100. If you'd like to have a go at that, there are some lovely, lovely patterns in there. I'm feeling really disorientated today, actually. I think the new setup, the new camera in the new room is making me feel a bit nervous. I don't know why. I feel like I'm talking really, really fast, and all the while I'm thinking you probably won't be able to hear me anyway. Okay, so works in progress. So besides the second Betty jumper, and I'll tell you more about the inspiration for the jumper when it's finished, I am working on a shawl actually, and again, just bear with me. Oh, drop that. This was sent to me by Veronica of the Blue Star Crochet Company. Can you see that? It's a shawl kit, and the pattern is called Caught by the Sea, and it's beautiful. I've opened the kit, so I won't really be able to show you all the how lovely it was packaged, but it comes with a printed pattern. There are lots of different voucher codes in there. There's a 5mm crochet hook in there, a little biscuit, and a tea bag. All the crochet essentials basically. It also came with some beautiful stitch markers, I'll show you that. And the yarn, I think there's a choice of 2 colours, and it's from the Mermaid's Purse hand-dyed yarns. Can you see that? Again, I will put all the links in the blog post. Anyway, the kit's working out lovely. Show you the yarn. Look at that. Can you see that beautiful yarn? That's a lovely pattern. I mean, once it's blocked, I think you'll be able to see it a lot better how it's working up. I've just got to the point in the pattern where I'm going to start to need to do some decreases. So I don't think it's going to be an overly big shawl, more like a cropped one. Let me see if I can show you these stitch markers. Can you see that? There's one. And there's the other one. Isn't that lovely? I can't remember the colour of this particular yarn either. Like I said, there's 2 shades. It is really beautiful though. I feel like it might be electric eel or something like that, but I will put the details below. So I'm really enjoying that, and I think you can still get the kits. So again, I'll put all the links to that below. And that is it for crochet really. I have also, I've been working on a couple of commissions as well, so that's been taking up this time. And I also taught myself to knit finally. So look, here is my very first knit swatch. Okay. You see that? There we go, and all its wonkiness. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my cast on. This seems to be quite loose, my cast on stitches. I feel like people generally have the opposite problem with knitting, that their cast on stitches are tight. I'm not sure, I will have to look into that. I'm casting on with 2 needles, but they're very, you can just see they're very big compared to the rest of the swatch. Anyway, so there's my first knitted swatch. Quite proud of that. I think my knit stitch is looking quite neat. I'm not doing so well with the garter stitch. So I've been practicing that. I just picked up this. Whoa, it was really lovely. It was, I can't even remember what it was. I used it for a project a long time ago, I think, for a magazine commission. It's an Aran weight cotton. I think I used it to make some baskets. It's so beautiful and soft, and it's got a very slight sheen to it. I'm going to have to find out what it was and get some more of that. And I worked it up on the only knitting needles that I had, which came from a large set of vintage needles that I bought ages ago from a charity shop, and they looked like this. I say they looked like this. That's not going to focus, is it? It looked like this, and they just say number 3 on the end, but they're not 3mm, so I'm not sure what size they are. But I knit so tightly that I snapped one of them. So I think because they were quite long, I was getting a bit like jabbing people left, right and centre. So I did order, I did ask on Instagram whether it was better for new knitters to use wood or metal hooks. And it was actually pretty split. So I ordered some of these. These are just Addydae knitting needles. They're metal ones, and that's a 5.5mm. So back on safe ground. I mean, these are smaller than the pink ones that I was knitting with, so I don't know what size they were. And I'm just practicing my garter stitch because I'm a bit wonky. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all these little scraps. Maybe I'll just keep making them up and then make some sort of patchwork. I'm really just practicing, so I'll just try and do a couple of rows just to keep at it. And the yarn is way too big for those these hooks. It is, I think that's a row-in big knit or chunky knit or something like that. So that's the other thing I've been working on, just when I fancy a change, just do a few rows every evening. I'm just trying to I'm just trying to practice really and keep at it. So that is all. So if you have any knitting tips for me, please leave them in the comments below and let me know what type of hooks are better to learn on. I wasn't very keen on those really long ones, but the short ones I feel aren't going to be good for very much because they're so short. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that. So in line with my new hobby, I did buy a book. This is called Nitty Gritty Knitting for the Absolute Beginner. Anita Patel. So it talks you through step by step, and then it has lots of basic beginner patterns. There's some little beauties there, look. Really simple, you know, buttonholes, scarves, the usual I think for beginners. So I've been reading through that. So I found it quite useful actually. So I will probably try a few of the smaller patterns from that one in the future. The other books I bought are, the first one is this Rowan Crochet Cotton. I'm not sure if any of this is focusing. This is beautiful. There were a couple of patterns in this, and I can't remember whether I got this from Wool Warehouse or Darramels. I'll look and put the links below. It's a beautiful shawl there. Beautiful jumper on the back. I just really liked the whole look of the book actually, and you know it's coming up to well, spring has finally began to arrive here, so I think I'll be working probably a lot more in cotton over the next few months. And then the last book that I bought recently is this, Fashion Crochet by Jean Kinmund. This was from Oxfam, £2.49. I couldn't walk away without it, mainly just because of the jumper on the cover. I really loved that. Just a real 60s vibe really, and actually there were some nice little projects in it, so yes, I found that. Where did I find that? I think we were down in Lymington or somewhere like that, over the Easter holidays, and we popped into the charity shop and it was just there staring at me, so I had to get that to add to my collection. And I think that is it for all the knitting, crochet related bits. I will tell you quickly about the books I've been reading. I'd already mentioned the last time I podcast, I was reading The Comet Seekers. That's by Helen Sedgwick. I enjoyed this book. The only thing I would say about it is I did not really warm up to the main character. So really the themes of the book are really about the ties that bind you, I suppose, to the past. So your family ties, and you know, about the consequences of moving on or not moving on. And there are a couple of different characters, but the main one, I didn't really warm up to her for some reason, and I wasn't that. And actually, a few of the things she did, I sort of thought, but I wouldn't have done that. So, but it was a really beautiful book. And I enjoyed it. Sort of flashes back through time with the comets, so you get glimpses of the family history in the past. That's very beautiful, and it was well written. I just didn't really like her. So anyway, it's definitely worth a read. So I read that, and then the book I had last bought was The Wicked Cometh. And this one is by Laura Carlin. This is her debut novel, and I absolutely loved it. I flew through this in about 3 days. It's set in London in the 1830s, and you know, in the really sort of dodgy parts of London. It's just a really good book. It's a really good sort of mystery thriller, you know, and it's sort of set around the new scientific discoveries. So there's a lot about the body snatching and for anatomy purposes and things like that. It's really interesting, and I really loved it. So I definitely would recommend that one. And that is it. I haven't started another book yet. I only finished that a couple of days ago. So I'm going to have a look. I've got a lot left to read. So I'm going to have to go and have a good edit of this and see whether it's salvageable, I think. And yes, I think that's it. As far as television goes, I haven't really got any news on that. I watched Ordeal by Innocence on BBC. That's the Agatha Christie one. They've done a 3-parter. I really enjoyed that, and there were lots of famous faces in that as well. So it had the girl from Poldark. I can't remember any of the names. My brain is fried this morning. That was really good. So I watched that, and I saw that they're about to put on an adaptation of The Woman in White on the BBC. I think that starts this Sunday, the 22nd. So I'm looking forward to watching that as well. So I hope you're all well. Things are flashing at me. I promise I will get used to this setup, and I will see you all again soon. Take care. Bye.